Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Text 100. Tavidam Rakahi Prabhu Chapada Maria Mukhe Kera Vyaki Mruka Haili Pandit Hanam. When Balabhadra Bhattacharya asked to see Krishna at Kaliyadaha, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mercifully slapped him, saying, "You are a learned scholar, but why have you become such a fool, being influenced by the statements of other fools?" Purport by Srila Prabhupada. His Divine Grace says, Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Maya is so strong that even a person like Balabhadra Bhattacharya, who was constantly staying with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, was influenced by the words of fools. He wanted to see Krishna directly by going to the Kaliyadaha, but Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, being the original spiritual master, would not allow his servants to fall to such foolishness. He therefore chastised him, slapping him, just to bring him to his real sense of Krishna consciousness. (101). Why would Krishna appear in the age of Kali? Foolish people who are mistaken are simply causing agitation and making a tumult. Purport. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's first statement, Krishna Kini Darshana Dibi Kali Kale, refers to the scriptures. According to scripture, Krishna appears in Dwarpa Yuga, but he never appears as himself in Kali Yuga. Rather, he appears in Kali Yuga in a covered form, as stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam 11.5.32. Krishna Banam Trivas Krishnam Shango Pangas Shraprasadam. Krishna appears in the age of Kali in the garb of a devotee, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who always associates with his internal soldiers like Sri Advaita Prabhu, Sri Nityananda Prabhu, Srivas Prabhu, and Sri Caitanya Prabhu. Although Balabhadra Bhattacharya was personally serving Lord Krishna in his role as a devotee, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he mistook Lord Krishna for an ordinary man. For an ordinary man, and an ordinary man for Lord Krishna, because he did not follow the rules set down by the Shastra and Guru. Do not simply become mad. Simply sit down here and tomorrow night you will go to see Krishna. The next morning, some respectable gentlemen came here to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the Lord asked them, "Have you seen Krishna?" These respectable gentlemen replied, "At night, in Kalia Lake, a fisherman lights a torch in his boat and catches many fish. From a distance, people mistakenly think that they are seeing Krishna dancing on the body of the Kaliya serpent. These fools think that the boat is Kaliya serpent and the torchlight of jewels is on his hood. People also mistake the fisherman for Krishna. Actually, Lord Krishna has returned to Vrindavan. That is the truth. And it is also true that people have seen him. But where they are seeing Krishna is their mistake. It is just like considering a dry tree to be a person. Purport. The word stanu means dry, a dry tree without leaves. From a distance, one may mistake the tree for a person. This is called stanu purusha. Although Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was living in Vrindavan, the inhabitants considered him to be an ordinary man, an ordinary human being, and they mistook the fisherman to be Krishna. Every human being is prone to make such mistakes. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was mistaken for an ordinary man, sannyasi. The fisherman was mistaken for Krishna, and the torchlight was mistaken for the bright jewels on Kaliya's hoods. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu then asked them, "Have you seen Krishna directly?" The people replied, "You are a sannyasi, a renunciant, therefore you are a moving Narayana, Jangama Narayana." Purport. This is the viewpoint of the Mayavadi philosophy. Mayavadi philosophy supports the impersonalist view that Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, has no form. One can imagine impersonal Brahman in a form as Vishnu or Shiva, Vivaswan, Ganesh, or Durga, Devi Durga. According to the Mayavadi philosophers, when one becomes a sannyasi, he is to be considered a moving Narayana. Mayavada philosophy holds that the real Narayana does not move because of his being impersonal. He has no legs. And thus, according to the Mayavada philosophers, whoever becomes the sannyasi declares himself Narayana. Foolish people accept ordinary human beings because the Supreme Personality of Godhead is called Nirvartavada. This is called Nirvartavada. Seeing ordinary human beings as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this regard, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur comments that Jangama Narayana means that the impersonal Brahman takes shape and moves here and there in the form of a Mayavadi sannyasi. The Mayavadi philosophy confirms this. Dandagrahanta matrina naro narayano bhavet. Simply by accepting the danda of the order of sannyas, one is immediately transformed into Narayana. Therefore, Mayavadi sannyasis address one another by saying, Om Namo Narayana. In this way, one Narayana worships another Narayana. Actually, an ordinary human being cannot become Narayana. As the chief Mayavadi sannyasi, Sri Shankaracharya says, Narayana paro vyaktat. Narayana is not a creation of this material world. Narayana is above the material creation. Due to their poor fund of knowledge, Mayavadi sannyasis think that Narayana, the absolute truth, takes birth as a human being, and that when he realizes this, he becomes Narayana again. They never consider why Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, would accept an inferior position as a human being and then again become Narayan when he is perfect? Why should Narayana be imperfect? Why should he appear as a human being? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very nicely explained these points while in Vrindavan. The people then said, "You have appeared in Vrindavan as an incarnation of Krishna. Just by seeing you, everyone is now liberated." Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately exclaimed, "Vishnu, Vishnu, do not call me the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The jiva cannot become Krishna at any time. Do not even say such a thing." Purport. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately stated that the living being, however exalted he may be, should never be compared to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's preaching protests the monistic philosophy of the Mayavad school. The central point of Krishna consciousness is that the jiva, the living entity, can never be accepted as Krishna or Vishnu. This point is elaborated in the following verses. A sannyasi in the renounced order is certainly a part and parcel of the complete whole, just as shining molecular particles of sunshine is a part and parcel of the sun itself. Krishna is like the sun, full of six opulences, but the living entity is only a fragment of the complete whole. The living entity and the absolute personality of Godhead are never considered to be equal, just as a fragmental spark can never be considered the original flame. Purport. Sannyasis consider themselves Brahman, and they superficially speak themselves as Narayana. The monistic disciples of the Mayavadi school, known as Smarta Brahmanas, are generally householder Brahmanas who accept the Mayavad sannyasi as Narayana incarnate. Therefore, they offer their obeisances to them. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately protested this unauthorized system, specifically mentioning that the sannyasi is nothing but a fragmental portion of the Supreme, Chitkan Jiva. In other words, he is nothing more than an ordinary living being. He is never Narayana. He is a molecule portion of sunshine, just as a molecule portion of sunshine is never the sun itself. The living entity is nothing but a fragmental part of the absolute truth. And therefore, at no stage of perfection can the living entity become the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This Mayavad viewpoint is always condemned by the Vaishnava school. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself protested this philosophy. When the Mayavadi accept sannyas and consider themselves Narayana, they become so puffed up that they do not even enter the temple of Narayana to offer respects, for they falsely think themselves Narayana himself. Although Mayavad sannyasis may offer respects to other sannyasis and address them as Narayana, they do not go to a Narayan temple and offer respects. These Mayavadi sannyasis are always condemned and are described as demons. The Vedas clearly state the living entities are subordinate parts and parcels of the Supreme. Eko bahunam jo vidatati kamam. The the Supreme Being, Krishna, he maintains all living entities. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Controller, is always full of transcendental bliss and is accompanied by the potencies known as Haladini and Shambit. The conditioned soul, however, is always covered by ignorance, by the threefold miseries of life. Thus, he is a treasure house of tribulations. Purport. This is a quotation from Vishnu Swami, cited in Sridhar Swami's Bhavarta Deepika commentary on the Srimad Bhagavatam 176. A foolish person who says that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the same as a living entity is an atheist, and he becomes subject to be punished by the superintendent of death, Yamaraj. Purport. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, the word Pashandi refers to one who considers the living entities under the control of the illusory energy to be equal with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is transcendental to all material qualities. Another kind of Pashandi is one who does not believe in the spirit soul, the superior potency of the Lord, and therefore does not distinguish between spirit and matter. While describing one of the offenses against chanting the holy name, specifically the offense called Shruti Shastra Nindana, blaspheming the Vedic literature, Jiva Goswami states in his Bhakti Sandarbhas, Jata Pashando Margina Tatatreyo Shabha Devo Paksha Kanam Pashanditam Dinam. Worshippers of impersonalists like Dattatreya are also Pashandis, considering the offense of Aham Mama Bhuti or Dehatma Bhuti, considering the body to be the self. Jiva Goswami states, Deva Javid Nadi Nimitika Prashandi Shabdi Nacha Das Paradha Eva Lakshayanti Pashanda Mayatat Tesham. Those who are overly absorbed in the conception of the body and the bodily necessities are called Pashandis. Elsewhere in the Bhakti Sandarbha it is stated, a person who considers the demigods and the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be one. Therefore, a Pashandi worships any kind of demigod as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One who disobeys the order of the spiritual master is also considered Pashandi. The word Pashandi has been transcribed in many places in Srimad Bhagavatam. On the whole, Pashandi is a non-devotee who does not accept the Vedic conclusions in the Hari Bhakti Vilasa. There it is quoted, the verse quoted from the Padma Purana describing the Pashandi. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu quoted this verse as the following text. A person who considers like demigods, like Brahma and Shiva, to be on an equal level with Narayana is condemned, an offender or a Pashandi. After Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained the offense After Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained the difference between an ordinary living being and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the people said, no one considers you an ordinary human being. You are like Krishna in every respect, in both bodily features and characteristics. By your bodily features, we can see you are none other than the son of Nanda Maharaj. Although the golden luster of your body has covered your original complexion. The aroma of deer musk cannot be concealed by wrapping in a cloth. Your characteristics as the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot be concealed by any means. Indeed, your characteristics are uncommon and beyond the imagination of an ordinary living being. Simply by seeing you, the entire universe becomes mad with ecstatic love for Krishna. If they see you just once, even women, children, old men, meat eaters, and members of the lower caste immediately chant the holy name of Krishna, dance like madmen, and become spiritual masters capable of delivering the whole world. Apart from seeing you, whoever listens to your holy name is mad with ecstatic love for Krishna and is able to follow and is able to deliver the three worlds. Simply by hearing your holy name, dog eaters become holy saints. Your uncommon potencies cannot be described in words. To say nothing of the spiritual advancements of persons who see the Supreme Personality face to face, or even a person born in a family of dog eaters becomes immediately eligible to perform the Vedic sacrifices if he once utters the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or chants about him, hears about his pastimes, offers him obeisances, or even remembers him. This is a quotation from the verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam 3:36. These glories of yours are only marginal. Originally, you are the son of Nanda Maharaj. Purple. The original characteristics of a substance are called Swarupa, and the subsequent corollaries are called Tatashta Lakshana, or marginal characteristics. The glories of the Lord's marginal characteristics prove him to be the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, the son of Nanda Maharaj. As soon as one understands this, one accepts Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu then bestowed his causeless mercy upon all the people there, and everyone became ecstatic with love of God. Finally, they all returned to their homes. Hare Krishna. So the story that's just been described, they thought Krishna had appeared again, the Kaliya serpent. They saw in the lake some big shape in the water. And there were some lights there, which they considered, it looks like Kaliya. And they were saying, it looks like Krishna is doing Kaliya. They're dancing on Kaliya's hoods from the shore. So a rumor went around, so many people were coming, accepting this, that this is actually Kaliya dancing on the hoods of Krishna is dancing on the hoods of Kaliya. But Mahaprabhu was chastising them, saying, where does it say that in Kali Yuga Krishna will come? Krishna was here in Dwapara Yuga. Where does it say he will come again? So you're just seeing something with imagination, you're thinking it's Krishna performing his pastime. But this is not supported by the gurus or sadhus or the shastra. So then it's been pointed out here, how one should never accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead as an ordinary person. And again, Prabhupada is defeating the Mayavadi philosophy again. He said, what is their philosophy? Narayan is everywhere, especially in the heart of the sannyasi becomes Narayana. He's everywhere. But when they go to the temple of Narayana, they don't see the deity. They don't want to look at the deity. What is it? He said, Prabhupada saying, what kind of mentality is that? Narayan is everywhere, he's outside. The sannyasis are Narayan, but not in the temple, he's deity of Narayan. He's not Narayan. I don't know if I gave that example before, but I was in the temple, when Mayavadi came in the temple by Lord Nrsingadev, and he was sat in meditation. He's the big columns there, each side of Nrsingadev, on the Natmandi on the outside. There's columns going up, block your vision of Nrsingadev. But anyway, he sat in front of, he was a Mayavadi, with his tilak and everything. He came and he sat down cross-legged in the meditational pose in front of the column. The column was here and he just sat right in front of it. And Radha Madhava there, beautiful deities, Panchatattva there, dancing. And he's sitting in meditation in front of a column because he was so advanced that he doesn't need to see God already. So the philosophy is full of faults. So, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, that it's a fact that the living entity is Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi. And the Lord is also Brahman. He is also Brahman, it's a fact. But what is the difference between the Lord and the Lord and the living entity? They say there is no difference. It's all the same. But Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that the living entities are there, they're Brahman, they are eternal. I also enter into this material world. I'm also a Brahman. So Krishna comes as, he is Brahman, Paramatma, Param Brahman, he's a Param Brahman. I also enter into the universe. But what's the difference? We've entered into the universe. We are Brahman, but we're entered into the universe. Krishna is the Param Brahman. He's also entered into the universe. So what's the difference? The difference is that the Param Brahman says the other living entities are in this material world, become conditioned. But when I come, the Param Brahman comes, what does he do? He said he maintains all the other Brahmans, all the living entities, everywhere. They're all Brahman. But nobody can say that I'm maintaining all the Brahmans. I may be looking after one Brahman in his body, but I can't claim to maintain all the Brahmanas, all the Brahman. So Krishna says that in Bhagavad Gita. I also went in chapter 15, I enter into these worlds and I maintain them. We enter this world, but we don't maintain it. We are practically maintained by the material energy in the form of performing activities that keep us bound up in the material world. But Krishna, he says, I come in, and the difference is I maintain all these other brahmanas. And the other brahmanas, they cannot say that. So they have to twist the philosophy to suit their understanding. But even Prabhupada quotes it, but Shankaracharya, he said he's actually the guru of the Mayavadis, Adi Shankaracharya. And he says that Narayana Paribhyakta, that the Narayana is beyond this material creation. And that's Shankaracharya's own statement. He's an incarnation of Lord Shiva. That's his own statement, that Narayana is beyond all the material energies. He's above all the material energies. But his followers don't accept that. So, so here's nice pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because so much impersonalism in this world. Nirvishisha Shunyavadi, where Prabhupada came to destroy this impersonalism, the Mayavada philosophy, and the Buddhist philosophy of nihilism. Buddha. Everything is zero. Everything is zero. So there's Buddhism. Anyway, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, out of his mercies, defeated the Mayavad philosophy. So, which sloka is it? 128. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu remained. Did we do 128? 128. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu remained for some days at Akura Tirtha, and he delivered everyone there by distributing the holy name of Krishna and ecstatic love of the Lord. The Brahmana, disciple of Madhavancha Puri, went from house to house in Mathura and inspired other Brahmanas to invite Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to their homes. Thus all the respectable people of Mathura, headed by the Brahmanas, came to Balabhadra Bhattacharya and extended invitations to the Lord. In one day, 10 to 20 invitations were received, but Balabhadra Bhattacharya would only accept one of them. Since not everyone got the opportunity to offer invitation to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, those who did not request the Sanodiya Brahmana to ask the Lord to accept their invitations. The Brahmanas from different places such as Kanyakumja and South India, who were already strict followers of the Vedic religion, offered invitations to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with great humility. In the morning, they would come to Akrura Tirtha and cook food, and after offering it to the Shalagrama Shila, they offered it to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Purple. There are Brahmanas known as Panchagoda Brahmanas, who come from 5 places in northern India. And there are Brahmanas known as Pancha Dakshinatya Brahmanas, who come from 5 places in southern India. In northern India, the places are Kanyakubja, Saraswata, Gouda, Mithila. Places are Andhra, Karnataka, Gujarat, Dravida, and Mahasra. Most of these names are still existing. The Brahmanas from these places are considered to be very strict followers of the Vedic principles. And they are accepted as pure Brahmanas. They strictly observe the Vedic principles and are not polluted by tantric misdeeds. All of these Brahmanas respectfully invited Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for lunch. So they're considered very pure, saintly persons, Brahmanas from South India, because they protected very much nicely the Vedic literatures there. The invaders found it difficult to conquer all those kings in southern India, the Yavanas, the Muslims, Malechas. They couldn't get into South India so well because of the Brahmanas were so powerful there in South India, the followers of the Vedas. So they maintained a lot. You can see now you go to the old temples there. Tirupati and Sri Vaishnavas and the Madhavas there, the Vaishnav sects, and those acharyas, they have maintained and purified most places in South India. So the invaders couldn't really capture the South India, so they could maintain their culture. And which one is they would cook the food and offer it to the Shalagrama Shila. After offering it to the Shalagrama Shila, they offered it to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So it's already been offered. But because Mahaprabhu was acting as a devotee, following the Brahmanical culture and set an example, then he accepted that which they had offered to Shalagram Srila. Anyway, it's the prasadam. So all the Brahmanas will come there to Akrura Ghat and cook food and then offer to the Shalagram. Prabhupada, he told me one time that he said you should worship the Shalagram Srila in Mayapur. He told the managers. So Mayapur was the first temple to worship Shalagram Srila in ISKCON. And Prabhupada said this should be introduced in our temples where they have sufficient quality, sufficient materials to worship. And Prabhupada showed us how to worship the Shalagram Srila. And he said the Brahmanas, they go to one place, the holy place here, they come to Akrura Tirtha. And they cook their food, so they come with a little with the Shalagram Shila, and they go and beg some rice or something. And then they'll go to the holy places and they'll cook their rice. And then they'll have the Shalagram Shila in a little box or hanging around their neck. And then they'll offer the rice and whatever they collected to Shalagram Shila. Then after that, they would honor the Mahaprasad. So, and then after that, they would go wind everything up and they'll go put the Shalagram to sleep again. He said he's in a little box or a little bag. Then they'll go somewhere else. Their brahmanas are just wandering around, depending on Krishna. So Prabhupada said, so then they finish the worship, they go on another place and they wake up the Shalagram Shila and they offer the food again, give mantras, and then again put him to sleep, and then go to the next holy place like this. And Prabhupada said, this is Shalagram Puja. He said, mantra, sleeping, mantras, as you go. Wake up, say mantras, again put to sleep, wake up again. Mantras, sleeping, mantras. Prabhupada started laughing. And so Prabhupada did a little puja actually. Caitanya Maharaj was there and Bhavananda Prabhu. And he'd instructed them to get the Shalagram, so someone. And so they took it to Srila Prabhupada, with myself also. And Caitanya Maharaj said, here we have a Shalagram Srila Prabhupada. So Prabhupada immediately touched to his head. And then he started to do a puja. He had his Archman cup was on, and he took that cup and he made some tilak. His tilak was on his desk. He didn't move from his desk. And I don't think he even knew we were coming to see him, but somehow or another we came in. And then he made some tilak and he had a box of matches on his desk. He took out one matchstick and he painted a little face on Shalagram, little eyes, little nose, tilaks, little gopi dots, and he put an M-shaped mouth, a seagull-shaped mouth, and he was painting. He says, you can do like this, but you do it nicely, of course. Because Prabhupada was saying, can't equal it. And then he was talking, saying different things. Or he said in the month of Vaishak, then you can offer that water dripping on Shalagram and Tulsi Shalagram Jaldan, for that 1 month is very hot. And he said you can observe that festival. And where there is Tulsi, sufficient Tulsi should be worshipped. Shalagram with Tulsi. And Caitanya Maharaj had some cloths. It's very fine cloth, about this long, 2 pieces. And so he, from Shantipur, this kind of a simple cloth that they use for Shalagram. So anyway, he folded the dhoti like that, and then he had his tilak container was there. He was like an egg cup shape, little puri puts his tilak. So he took out the tilak and it was like a perfect little throne. So he put the cloth on the throne, then he sat the Shalagram Shila on the dhoti like that. Then he had the other piece of small cloth, he folded again like that. Then he put it around the Shalagram Shila. and he was looking. Then Prabhupada gave his garland he was wearing, put his garland around the Shalagram Shila. And so he was saying different things, and then all of a sudden that flower garland that was on Shalagram, it fell down. And Prabhupada said, "Oh, did you see that? Did you see? You see?" He said, "You know that story of Krishnadas Kaviraj?" And he went to which deity? Madan Mohan. Went to Madan Mohanji to get his blessings to write Caitanya Caritamrita. And while he was praying to Madan Mohan, the garland fell off Madan Mohan. And all the Brahmanas, they offered that to Krishnadas Kaviraj. So Prabhupada said, you know that story? That means he's accepting my offering. He's accepting it. Yeah. And sometime later, we had some shalagrams, shilas. And so we put this on the altar. This shalagram Prabhupada showed us. Then we had some more came also at that time. So he said this shalagram, he also had a natural mouth. You know, the shalagram has different lakshanas, different characteristics. So some have like chakras and things like that, lotus. And often they have mouth, or gaping mouth. You look inside, there's chakras inside and things like that. You can distinguish the different shalagrams. Anyway, this one had a natural mouth. So I put I drew a little mouth like Prabhupada drew, a little seagull-shaped, M-shaped mouth over the natural mouth. Because he had that was his... Anyway, when Prabhupada came, Gopurnima time, as he did every Gopurnima, so he came and he was taking darshan of Radha Madhava, and he looked down and he said, "Why he has a mustache? Why Shalagram has a mustache? Mustache, you know." I said, "No, it's not a mustache, Prabhupada. It's his mouth. You showed me like to draw, and I was trying to copy you." "No," he said, "Krishna doesn't have a mustache." And I said, "But Prabhupada is..." No. Don't give Krishna a mustache." Because we're all a little bit fearful. We had heard different stories about Shalagram, and if the worship doesn't go properly, then the thunderbolts start flying around. Thunderbolts. We thought if we make some mistake in worship in Shalagram, he's supposed to be very strict. Gaunita is very merciful, forgiving, merciful. Jagannath, Balaram, they're a bit more strict. Radha Krishna is strict, but Shalagram is even more strict, you see. So we were all wondering what's going to happen. So we were a little bit scared. So, and the devotees were coming in. Nobody had seen this Shalagram before. Few devotees. And what is his deity? Is it Jagannath? I said, "I guess so. He's black and he's got white eyes." And other people come. This is Narayana Shila. And Gopal Krishna also that he knew. This is Krishna Shila. So we was getting all these different Narayan Shila, Krishna Shila, Shalagram Shila. So I was completely confused. I didn't. So anyway, I went to Srila Prabhupada and I went to his room and I said, Srila Prabhupada, may I ask you a question? He said, yes. I said, Srila Prabhupada, some say that the Shalagram. Prabhupada said, forget some say. Kind of heavy. I think he said it in the mood of the devotees, some, morning walks and places like that, the devotees, they say Prabhupada, or they say, Prabhupada said, they say, he says, who says? What is that, what they say? In other words, don't speculate. What I took it like that. Forget some say, he said. And I didn't pursue it anymore because of his tone was a little bit. Then after 2 days later, he sent a message. He said, take a message to the Pujari. He said, tell him that he should offer a flute to Shalagram. Flute. In other words, he should be worshipped as Krishna. So we offered the flute as Krishna. So you can worship all forms in the Shalagram. Krishna is there, any form you can worship. If you're Krishna Bhakti, you can worship Krishna in the Shalagram, or Gauranga, or Ramchandra. Yes.
So now there is this Tulsi Shalagram wedding. Like I said, they are like in ISKCON temples where there is a lot of people from Vedic culture or Indians. They perform it with great pomp, where some people are, they take the part of bride's family, which is Tulsi Maharani, they dress her up very nicely. Then some members take the part of groom's family, and they do like a proper Vedic ceremony by giving charity and going around the fire, and they do the Shalagram wedding. You're aware of it, right? It's happening a lot in all the ISKCON temples in the Western countries.
Yeah, it's very traditional, especially in Maharashtra. Dairam Prabhu said his family, they perform that ceremony. Yeah, you should start that ceremony 2 years before. You should plant the tulsi seeds 2 years before, and then you take the tulsi in the house. You have a Vishnu Murti, I think, made of silver, and then there is an actual wedding with a homer and everything, fire sacrifice. We were doing it for a few years in Mayapur. It was fantastic, especially the Matajis. They really loved it, doing the wedding, and they would make all little gifts and
So when Srila Prabhupada mentioned about dressing up, he was personally dressing the Shalagram. What year was it?
What year was it? Must have been about 8 years ago. We did it it's coming up in a few days in Purnima.
Well, I'm very happy to hear this because we didn't have any reference of whether Prabhupada authorized it or what, but it's going with great pomp all over the Western countries with ISKCON.
Well, it got very controversial, and Bhakti Shri Maharaj was there, and they went to inquire from Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj, because he was the authority on rituals and everything in the Gaudiya Math. And he was saying generally the Gaudiya Vaishnavas they don't observe this ceremony because I don't know why. But anyway, it got to such a point that there were two sides. Padmalochan and his wife, especially with her. Remember Padmalochan? Oh, okay. Yeah, there were two sides, and then it became an argument. What should we do? Should we do that? Should we not do it? So then we decided we'll stop it at least for a while. At least for a while. But it was a really nice festival.
Yeah, in the first canto, Prabhu mentions about how long the marriage ceremony lasts, the Vedic ceremony. So the people in the Vedic culture, they follow it so strict.
Yeah.
So popular like that. Especially the people who don't have any children, they sponsor the bride. Because they said in the Vedic culture, it is said that this is part of the Vedic culture. Or they said that one should give a daughter in charity at least once in a lifetime. It's considered the highest charity. For people who are not devotees, so it's in the Karma Kanda. So they take that information and they make it a big thing that, yeah, in one's lifetime one should give a daughter in charity because it's considered the highest charity. So
Yeah, how much? But people were asking how much is it, if we donate for the wedding, how much should we give? We said, well, how much would you give your daughter for her dowry?
But rich people, they give a lot. And obviously that goes to the temple. There's always competition of who gives more, right? Like that. And then they have a big feast and a big ceremony. So it's always competition among the rich people.
It starts on the Purnima, so that's the same day that small Radha Madhava go on the elephant. The winter season is coming now, so in the cold. Then small Radha Madhava go out on their elephants. So we have an elephant procession that day, Purnima. Then we had small Radha Madhava were going in the palanquin. Gaunitai were going in another palanquin. And small Radha Madhava were there with some cloth tied in her hand and tied up to Krishna. Tied the cloth together. And so it's a big blissful day, big function. So, but the other ones we'll do, we'll have a big procession on Purnima. Hare Krishna. Text 135. One day, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu sat at the bathing ghat of Akrura Tirtha and thought the following thoughts. Purport. Akrura Tirtha is located between Vrindavan and Mathura. When Krishna and Balaram were being taken to Mathura by Akrura, the Lord rested at this place and took bath in the Jamuna. When Krishna and Balaram took their bath, Akrura saw the entire world of Vaikuntha within the water. The inhabitants of Vrindavan also saw the Vaikuntha planets within the water. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu thought, at this bathing place, Akrura saw Vaikuntha, the spiritual world, and all the inhabitants of Braja saw the Golok Vrindavan. While considering how Akrura remained in the water, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu immediately jumped in and stayed under the water for some time. When Krishnadas saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was drowning, he cried and shouted very loudly, Balabhadra, Bhattacharya, immediately came and pulled the Lord out. After this, Balabhadra Bhattacharya took the Shanodiya Brahmana to a secluded place and consulted with him. Balabhadra Bhattacharya said, "Since I was present today, it was possible for me to pull the Lord up. But if he starts to drown at Vrindavan, who will help him? Now there is a crowd of people here, and these invitations are causing a disturbance. In addition, the Lord is also always ecstatic and emotional. I do not find the situation here very good. It would be good if we could get Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu out of Vrindavan." That is my final conclusion. The Shanodiya Brahmana said, "Let us take him to Prayag and go along the banks of the Ganges. It will be very pleasurable to go that way." After going to the holy place named Sharoketra and bathing in the Ganges, let us take Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that way and go. Now it's the beginning of the month of Magh. If we go to Prayag at this time, we shall have an opportunity to bathe for a few days there during the Makara Sankranti. Bathing during the month of Magh at the Magh Mela still takes place. It is a very old Mela, assembly of fair. Dating from the time immemorial, it is said that ever since the Lord, in the form of Mohini, took a bucket of nectar and kept it at Prayag, holy men gather there every year and observe the Magh Mela. Every 12th year there is a Kumbh Mela, the great festival, and all the holy men from all over India assemble there. The Brahmana wanted to take advantage of the Magh Mela and bathe there. Bathing at the confluence of the Gangas and Jamunas near the fort at Allahabad, Prayag, it is mentioned in the revealed scriptures that if one goes to Prayag and bathes in the confluence of the Ganges and the Jamuna in the month of Magh, he attains the results of giving hundreds and thousands of cows in charity. Simply by bathing for 3 days there, he attains the results of such pious activities. Because of this, the Shanodiya Brahmana was very eager to go to Prayag and bathe. Generally, karmis or fruitive workers take advantage of bathing there during the month of Magh, thinking they will be rewarded in the future. Those who are situated in devotional service do not very strictly follow the Karmakanda process. The Shanodiya Brahmana continued, "Kindly submit to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu the unhappiness you are feeling within yourself. Then propose that we all go to Prayag on the full moon day of the month of Magh. Tell the Lord for the happiness you will feel in traveling by the bank of the Ganga." Balabhadra Bhattacharya therefore submitted his prayer to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Balabhadra Bhattacharya told the Lord, "I can no longer tolerate disturbance from the crowd. People are coming one after another to offer invitations." Early in the morning, people come here, and seeing you present, they simply tax my brain. I would be very happy if you all leave and take the path on the bank of the Ganges. Then we can have an opportunity of bathing in the Ganges at Prayag during the Makara Sankranti. There are 2 great occasions for bathing in the Ganges. Bathing during Magh Mela. One is on the day of the dark moon, and the other is on the day of the full moon during the month of Magh. My mind has been very agitated, and I cannot bear this anxiety. Now everything rests on the permission of your Lordship. I will accept whatever you want to do. Although Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had no desire to leave Vrindavan, he began to speak sweet words just to fulfill the desires of his devotees. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, you have brought me here to show me Vrindavan, and I am very much indebted to you, and I shall not be able to repay this debt. Whatever you desire, I must do. Wherever you take me, I shall go. The next morning, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu got up early. After taking his bath, he became ecstatic with love, knowing that he had now had to leave Vrindavan. Although the Lord did not exhibit any external symptoms, his mind was filled with ecstatic love. At that time, Balabhadra Bhattacharya said, let us go to Mahavan Gokul. Saying this, Balabhadra Bhattacharya made Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sit on board a boat, and they crossed the river. After they crossed the river, they took the Lord with him. Both very well. While walking, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, understanding that the others were fatigued, he took them all beneath a tree and sat down. There were many cows grazing here and there, and the Lord was very pleased to see them. Suddenly, a cowherd boy blew on his flute, and immediately the Lord was struck with ecstatic love. Filled with ecstatic love, the Lord fell to the ground unconscious. He foamed about the mouth, and his breathing stopped. When the Lord was unconscious, 10 cavalry soldiers belonging to the Muslim Pathanas military, they up and dismounted. Seeing the Lord unconscious, the soldiers thought this sannyasi must have been possessor of large quantity of gold, and these 4 rogues must have taken away the sannyasi's riches after killing him by making him take poison, the datura poison. Thinking like this, the Pathan soldiers arrested 4 persons and decided to kill them. Because of this, the 2 Bengalis began to tremble. The 4 persons were Balabhadra Bhattacharya, his assistant Brahmana, Rajaputra Krishnadas, and the Sanodiya Brahmana devotee of Madhavendra Puri. The devotee Krishnadas, who belonged to the Rajput race, was very fearless. The Sanodiya Brahman was also fearless, and he spoke very bravely. The Brahmana said, you Patana soldiers are all under the rule and protection of your king. Let us go to your commander and get his decision. This sannyasi is my spiritual master, and I am from Mathura. I am a Brahman, and I know many people who are in the service of the Muslim king. This sannyasi sometimes falls unconscious due to the influence of a disease. Please sit down here, and you will see that very soon he will regain consciousness and his normal condition. Sit down here for a while and keep us under arrest. When the sannyasi regains his senses, you can question him. Then if you like, you can kill us all. Coming to his senses, the Lord very loudly began chanting the holy name, Hari, Hari. The Lord raised his arms and began to dance in ecstatic love. When the Lord shouted very loudly in ecstatic love, he appeared to the Muslim soldiers that their hearts were being struck by thunderbolts. Seized by fear, the Patana soldiers immediately released the 4 persons, and thus Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not see his personal associates arrested. At that time, Balabhadra Bhattacharya went to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and made him sit down. Seeing the Muslim soldiers, the Lord again regained his senses, his normal senses. All the Muslim soldiers then came to see the Lord, and they worshipped his lotus feet and said, here are 4 rogues. These rogues have made you take datura, and having made you mad, they have taken all your possessions. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, these are not rogues, they are my associates. I am a sannyasi, beggar. I do not possess anything. Due to epilepsy, I sometimes fall unconscious. Out of their mercy, these 4 men maintain me. Among the Muslims was a very great person who was wearing a black dress. People called him a saintly person. The heart of that saintly person softened upon seeing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He wanted to talk with him and establish impersonal relationship He wanted to talk with him and establish impersonal Brahman as the basis of his own scripture, the Quran. When that person tried to establish the impersonal Brahman conception of the absolute truth on the basis of Quran, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu refuted his arguments. Whatever arguments he put forth, the Lord refuted all of them. Finally, the person became stunned and he could not speak. Sri Chaitanya, the Quran certainly establishes impersonalism, but at the end it refutes that impersonalism and establishes the personal God. The Quran accepts the fact that ultimately there is only one God. He is full of opulences and his bodily complexion is blackish. Purport. The revealed scriptures of the Muslims is the Quran. One Muslim sampradaya called known as the Sufis. The Sufis accept impersonalism, believing in the oneness of the living entity with the absolute truth. Their slogan is Analak, Analahak. The Sufi sampradaya was certainly derived from Shankaracharya's impersonalism. The Sufi sampradaya was certainly derived from Shankaracharya's impersonalism. According to the Quran, the Lord has a supreme, blissful, transcendental body. He is the absolute truth, the all-pervading, omniscient, eternal being. He is the origin of everything. Creation, maintenance, and dissolution come from him. He is the original shelter of all gross and subtle cosmic manifestations. The Lord is the supreme truth, worshipable by everyone. He is the cause of all causes. By engaging in his devotional service, the living entity is relieved from material existence. No conditioned soul can get out of material bondage without serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Love at his lotus feet is the ultimate goal of life. Purport. According to the Muslim scripture, without ibadat, offering prayers at a mosque or elsewhere 5 times daily, namaz, one cannot be successful in life. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu pointed out that in the revealed scriptures of the Muslims, love of Godhead is the ultimate goal. Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga are certainly described in the Quran, but ultimately the Quran states that the ultimate goal is the offering of prayers to the Supreme Person. Ibadat. The happiness of liberation, whereby one merges into the Lord's existence, cannot even be compared to a fragment of the transcendental bliss obtained by service unto the Lord's lotus feet. In Quran, there is descriptions of fruitive activities, speculative knowledge, mystic power, and union with the Supreme. But ultimately, all of this is refuted by the Lord's personal feature, established along with his devotional service. The scholars of the Quran are not very advanced in knowledge, although there may be many methods prescribed. They do not know that the ultimate conclusion should be considered the most powerful. Seeing your own Quran and deliberating over what is written, what is your conclusion? The saintly Muslim replied, all that you have said is true. This has certainly been written in the Quran, but our scholars cannot neither understand it or accept it. Usually they describe the Lord's impersonal aspect, but they hardly know that the Lord's personal feature is worshipable. They are undoubtedly lacking in this knowledge. Purport. The saintly Muslim admitted that those who were supposedly conversant in the teachings of the Quran could not ultimately understand the essence of the Quran. Because of this, they accepted only the Lord's impersonal feature. They recite and explain this portion only. Although the transcendental body of the Lord is, most of them are unaware of this. Since you are that supreme, you are that Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself, please be merciful upon me. I am fallen and unfit. I have studied the Muslim scriptures very extensively, but from it I could not conclusively decide the ultimate goal of life or how I can approach it. Now that I've seen you, my tongue is chanting Hare Krishna, Maha Mantra. The false prestige I felt of being a learned scholar is now gone. Saying this, the saintly person, the Muslim, fell at the lotus feet of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu and requested him to speak on life's ultimate goal and the process by which it could be obtained. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu said, please get up. You have chanted the holy name of Krishna. Therefore, the simple reactions you have cured for many millions of lives are now gone. You are now pure. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then told all the Muslims there that chant the holy name of Krishna, chant the holy name of Krishna. And they all began to chant, and they were overwhelmed by ecstatic love. In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu directly initiated the saintly Muslim by advising him to chant the holy name of Krishna. The Muslim's name was changed to Ramadas. Another Patana Muslim present there was named Vijuli Khan. Purport. After being initiated, the devotees in Krishna consciousness movement changed their names. Whenever a person in the Western world becomes interested in this Krishna consciousness movement, he is initiated by this process. In India, we are falsely accused of converting Malechas and Yavanas to the Hindu religion. In India, there are many Mayavadi sannyasis known as Jagat Guru, but although they have hardly visited the whole world, they're calling themselves Jagat Guru, although they've hardly visited the whole world. Some are not even sufficiently educated, yet they make accusations against our movement and accuse us of destroying the principles of Hindu religion by accepting Muslims and Yavanas as Vaishnavas. Such people are simply envious. We are not spoiling the Hindu system of religion. We are simply following in the footsteps of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by traveling all over the world and accepting those who are interested in understanding Krishna as Krishna Dasa or Ramadasa. By the process of the bona fide initiations, their names are changed. By this process of Pancharachaki Diksha, mentions in the Hari Bhakti Vilas, that when one gets initiation into the holy names of Krishna, at that time gets a spiritual body. Just as when gold is mixed with bell metal is mixed with mercury, liquid metal. By the mixture of the two, it produces gold. Mercury and bell metal mix. It produces gold. So similarly, by this process of Pancharachaki Diksha, receiving the holy names and other processes of devotional service, one gets a spiritual body. And Prabhupada said from that time on, Krishna recognized at your initiation. And Prabhupada said, you may not see how the body has changed. It's not that you get another 2 arms come up when you get initiation. You cannot see physically it's not changed. We still got 2 arms. We don't have 4 arms or anything. But Prabhupada said, but you can see that the subtle body has changed. We have 2 bodies, a gross body, earth, water, fire, air, ether. Then we have subtle body, in mind, intelligence, and the ego. So Prabhupada said, you cannot see the gross body, how the gross body is changed, but you can see how the subtle body is changed. A few months ago or a few weeks, we never even heard of Krishna, or then suddenly we come to Krishna consciousness and everything is Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Wake up in the morning, it's Krishna. Go to see Krishna's Mangalarti, eat Krishna Prasadam, dress how Krishna likes us to dress. Everything is Krishna. Chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna. It's a fact. The subtle body changes drastically. Never, like for Westerners, we never even heard the name of Krishna practically. And then all of a sudden, it's Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. So the subtle body has definitely changed. You cannot deny it. You cannot deny it. So it doesn't really matter about your previous activities, karmic activities. If you accept this process of pancharacha, then you actually get a spiritual body, and you to get a spiritual name, then your whole activities will change. You will be perform devotional service, and that's the correct position. That's the eternal servant of God. Chifer Sarupai Nitya Krishna Das. That's our eternal constitution. So that Prabhupada points out, you do actually get a spiritual body at the time of initiation. Vajuli Khan also fell down on the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the Lord placed his foot on his head. After bestowing his mercy upon them in this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left. All those Patana Muslims became mendicants. Later, these very Patanas became celebrated as the Patana Vaishnavas. They toured all over the country and chanted the glorious names of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Vijuli Khan became greatly advanced devotee, and his importance was celebrated at every holy place of pilgrimage. In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performed his pastimes. Coming to the western part of India, he bestowed good fortune upon the Yavanas and the Malechas. Purport: the word Yavana means meat eater. Anyone from a meat-eating community is called Yavana. One who does not strictly observe the Vedic principles is called Malecha. These words do not refer to any particular man. Even if the person is born as a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or a Sudra family, he is a Malecha or a Yavana if he does not strictly follow the regulative principles or if he eats meat. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu next went to the holy place of pilgrimage called Sarokshetra. He took his bath in the Ganges and started for Prayag on the path along the bank of the river Ganges. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Caitanya Caritamrita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Samaveta Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi. People who read this book must become deists. Way Prabhupada destroyed Mayavad, Sunyavad, and the other scriptures of the world, converted the Patanas. Lord Chaitanya placed his foot upon their head. Oh, Banjuli Khan, how merciful, how merciful he is, Mahaprabhu. Okay. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Any question or comment? What time are we supposed to finish? 6? What time?
There's one shloka today mentioned whoever hears Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's name can become qualified to deliver the 3 worlds. How to understand these words? There's so many people they heard Mahaprabhu's name.
Well, the example is Jalangi Mataji. You're from Kashadesh. Eh? Yeah, there's a mix of Kashadesh. From where's Europe? That's Yavana, Malecha. So we're all from these different degraded places. We're sitting in Gauranga's own Dham and chanting the holy name. When you chant the name of Krishna, it goes, because it's a transcendental sound, it doesn't end. The sound vibration doesn't finish. Whereas when we speak, usually the words, they become manifested and then they fade away. But when you chant the names of Krishna, that name goes, it doesn't stop. It goes up to the spiritual world, where it came from. And anyone in between the person who's chanting and the spiritual world also gets liberation. As that sound vibration passes through the universe, back to Godhead. Anyone who's in between that gets that vibration, he gets delivered, he can go back to Godhead. Where you're dancing, chanting, that sound vibration is liberating everyone. Someone had what do they call it, regression? You can regress, you can take someone back to the past or something like that, or to the future. Is it regression? Okay. Somebody did that, devotee, he could do it. It might have been Jayadeva from Europe, that singer, a rock and roll singer. I think he did it. He was regressing. And he showed like the universe. And within that universe there was a light beaming down from the Earth planet, whole light, great light, went right up to the spiritual world. And the devotee said, "What's that? What's that?" He said, "There's some very saintly sannyasi, very saintly persons. He's causing everyone to chant Hare Krishna, and it's purifying the whole universe. It goes right through the ends of the universe. If we believe in progression, regression." If Krishna doesn't do something wonderful like this, then what's the use of being God? If he just does ordinary things, but he very, very extraordinary, delivering the whole universe. So yeah, it seems fantastic to us. If it wasn't, why would we accept Krishna. It's like an ordinary activity. But Krishna's activities are very, very uncommon. They can't be. They say it's always all phantasmagoria, it's all impossible. So if it wasn't like that, then there's no meaning to being God. If you're not doing something very extraordinary, what's the use of being God? Anyway, so much mercy is there, Mahaprabhu was given. Prabhupada has translated all this. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Hare Bol, Hare Krishna, Hare Prabhupada.